People are even buying like vagal nerve stimulators and things. And they're trying to create this state of safety, really, and spirituality within them by trying to hack it. And the reality is, if you just develop the safety and the spirituality, you don't have to hack it all the time.
I'm grateful for all the hacks, but the hacks without the inner sensation, the felt sense of safety, will just be Band-Aids for a moment in time. They're a moment in time, and they aren't sustainable because it's not like you're going to heal your core wounds overnight. But if you're in the devotional practice of being well, then you're healing internally. Your inner world has to be part of the equation.
Yes.
It has to be 50% of the equation.
Absolutely.
Because the physical healing without the spiritual and emotional well-being is going to always fall short.
Gabby, I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
Me three. I'm so excited. This is actually my dream conversation. So here we are.
That's so amazing to hear. I mean, every conversation we've had has been so powerful to me. And I remember so many little bits and pieces that have made a difference in my own life and how I think about what I'm doing here as well. And so I can't wait to have this conversation, mainly just get all those things out there to my audience. There's so much. And, I think I don't normally do this, but I think it's so important with my conversation with you in particular is I'd love to actually start off with learning more about you. And I know a lot of people probably already know you, but hearing it just from your vantage point of kind of like the journey you've been on, and how did you start in the field of self-help and how did you get there?
Yeah, well, I think I started actually as a child because my mom brought me up very spiritual. So I would go visit the ashrams with her and was named by the guru. And I was taught how to meditate as a child. And I grew up in a home where I would watch my mom walk into her bedroom completely stressed out and chaotic. And then I'd hear the mantra music and I'd smell the incense coming through the door. And then she'd come out a different person. So I always witnessed that there was this other way. And in my early teens, I was struggling with depression and a lot of anxiety, and my mom taught me how to meditate. And so I was really practicing meditation in my 16, 17 years old, and already really feeling the presence of spirit physically, like starting to feel energy move through me, feeling synchronicity, feeling this great sense of peace come over me, almost like this blanket of love, really is how I would describe it. And so I had a really strong taste of that spiritual connection very young. And like most folks, turned my back on it for a while. And I turned my back on it to a major detour in the wrong direction. In my early 20s, I was really looking for my self-worth outside of myself and trying to prove myself to the world. And started my first company at 21. It was a nightlife PR business. And I thought, I was really doing it. Gabby, see Gabby at the door. And it was just like thinking I was pretty hot shit. And ultimately really got very hooked into drugs and alcohol. And I was running in relationships, running in my workaholism, running in my alcoholism and my drug addiction, and just running. And thankfully for me, that bottom hit me fast. And this is beautiful because right now, when this is airing, is actually my 20-year sober anniversary.
Oh my gosh, congratulations.
Yes.
That's incredible.
20 years.
Wow.
So October 2nd of 2005 was when I hit my knees and I hit my big bottom.
Wow.
And it was a beautiful moment in time because it was my choice to get clean and sober. I walked myself into that 12-step room. I woke up that day. I said, I need a miracle. And I actually heard an inner voice say to me, get clean and you will live a life beyond your wildest dreams.
Oh my gosh.
And I listened to that voice. I got sober. And in my sobriety, I immediately took the stage. I started speaking about my recovery. I started speaking about forgiveness. I started teaching the spiritual truths that I'd been studying and longing to live for so long, and then speaking authentically and vulnerably about it. And I started taking the stage in different arenas in New York City. I lived across the street from the Gay, Lesbian, Transgender Center in the West Village.
Oh, wow.
And so I'd go and I'd show up and I'd set up all the chairs and I'd rent the room for $100. And I would be like, say Gabby at the door, but in a new door. And, charge $20, walk in the door. And I'd be like, what was 100 people became 300 people, became 500 people and thousands of people. And it just became my path. And I knew it was my life choice and my soul's path to democratize spirituality, to demystify these principles, and to be a spiritual teacher for a new generation of seekers, and now for multi-generations. It's been 20 years now that I've been working as a spiritual teacher and a self-help book author. And it's the greatest work in the world, as I'm sure you feel about yourself too. It's the greatest work in the world.
It's incredible. And, I think from my perspective, changing people's health, but from your perspective, changing their relationship to themselves, to God, to spirituality. It's just, it is an incredible journey for people when they have great health.
Yes.
And just like it's an incredible journey when you have a great connection to your spirituality and to your inner peace, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I would say that when you have a spiritual relationship and you have a personal development practice of some kind and you develop faith, ultimately what those tools offer you is a sense of safety inside.
Right.
And so what is safety inside? It's the opposite of hypervigilance. It's the opposite of stress response. It's the parasympathetic response.
Yes.
You're living in a much more relaxed state of ease and presence and breath. Okay, so what's going to happen? Your health will be better.
Right.
You will see less inflammation. You will have better you won't have gastro issues. I mean, literally, once I healed my traumas from my past and once I really started to feel that inner shift, my gastro issues that I dealt with for 20 years disappeared.
Absolutely.
Just disappeared. I could digest perfectly. And for years, I was doing all the supplementing and all of which definitely was necessary. I don't think I would have survived without it, but I kept falling back into the SIBO or falling back into the IBS or falling back into the Candida or whatever it was. Why? Because I was in such a state of hypervigilance for so long.
Right.
Yeah.
And most of us live in that state of hypervigilance all the time. And it just kind of sneaks up on us, I think, a lot of times. You get busy with work and kids and mortgages and everything. And you're just living in this state without even realizing it. And I always say, I wonder, our caveman ancestors, right? Obviously, they had to run away from predators, but not all the time. Yeah. They lived in these beautiful communities, and they didn't have much to do all day except worry about where they're going to get their food from, right? And staying warm. But most of their day was probably spent just walking around, hanging out with the other people in the tribe, and they were not in a state of hypervigilance.
They probably slept really well and had perfect poop.
Exactly. And now we've evolved into never sleeping and not pooping.
Exactly. No, it's exactly right. I think that we have so much that we have to optimize physically, which is why you exist, which is why we need to rely on services like Next Health. I mean, I'm going to go off on Next Health. I'm the biggest. I am the poster child for this work. But and all that has to be done. But I actually lived with a lot of these tools. I always saw functional doctors all throughout my 20s and 30s. And I was really mindful. I knew everything about how to help your microbiome. And I was really educated. But no amount of that support was going to really get me to the safety that I needed in my body because I wasn't safe in my nervous system.
Absolutely. Yeah, that safety component is so key. And go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm sure you see this with patients that they might be doing all the right things. They're doing all the optimization, but they keep coming back and the inflammation is still high or the gut issues are still there. And things get better because without a shadow of a doubt, your health will get better when you practice these principles. Yeah. Without a doubt. I mean, even when I was in my worst state, like I said, I think that it was the functional medicine and the awareness that saved me, that kept me alive in those moments. But ultimately, I think that with one without the other, it's going to be much more difficult.
Absolutely. And one without the other also leads to poor health in the long term. And so, I think the way I've been thinking about this lately is that we're always trying to hack this safety sensation, like breathwork practices to get more into a parasympathetic state. People are even buying vagal nerve stimulators and things. And they're trying to create this state of safety, really, and spirituality within them by trying to hack it, right? And the reality is, if you just develop the safety and the spirituality, you don't have to hack it all the time.
It's exactly right.
Right?
That's exactly right. Yeah. I'm grateful for all the hacks, but the hacks without the inner sensation, the felt sense of safety, will just be Band-Aids for a moment in time. They're a moment in time. And they aren't sustainable because and it's not like you're going to heal your core wounds overnight. But if you're in the devotional practice of being well, then you're healing internally. Your inner world has to be part of the equation.
Yes.
It has to be 50% of the equation.
Absolutely.
Because anything, the physical healing without the spiritual and emotional well-being is going to always fall short.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it can not just fall short, it can also lead to more disease.
Yes,
and lead
exactly.
to heart attacks, lead to cancer, lead to all the things that we're suffering with. And I think this is a big piece of the equation that is missing right now in this longevity conversation.
It is. It's a huge piece of the conversation that we need. I'm so grateful to be able to break it out right here, right now. This is a breakout moment because this body of work that we call mental reconditioning or spiritual development or self-help, this is equally as important. And it is also the path to intuitive recognition. Right. So as you know and teach and guide folks, you can have all the biomarkers, but you also have to trust your gut, right? You also have to listen to your inner wisdom. You have to know, okay, now I have this information, what feels right inside? You know, we can't be so reliant on our doctors. We have to really take our health into our hands, which is really a lot of what you teach. And so how do we do that with the most empowered state? We do that through having a greater sense of intuition and inner wisdom.
Right.
And so that only comes with that sense of inner safety inside.
Yeah.
And actually, my latest book, which you have right here, Self-Help, this book is based on a trauma therapy called internal family systems therapy that I have undergone in my own therapeutic processes with my therapist, but also have become trained in. And I'm actually quite blessed to be one of the last people, probably the last person, to get the teacher training, the practitioner training that wasn't a therapist. So I'm not a licensed therapist, but I'm trained in this model. And my beloved friend, Dr. Richard Schwartz, created IFS. And what it's all about is actually creating safety inside.
Really? Can you break it down for us? I want to hear so much more about this.
Because this, matched with everything Next Health, is like the magic bullet for health.
That's the magic bullet.
This is the magic bullet for health.
Yeah.
So we need to create safety inside in order to allow our nervous system to rest and relax so that it can restore itself. And then we optimize with all of our supplements and all of our biomarkers. We do all that too. But how do we get to safety inside? Yeah. Well, first of all, let's recognize why we don't have safety inside. We don't have safety inside because we are running. We are running our asses off to run from impermissible feelings from our childhood.
Okay.
All of us. And you even shared some of this with me personally. You shared some of these things last night that were so vulnerable and beautiful. And all of us have big T trauma or small T trauma. And all of us, no one is immune to this. Right. The big T could be, the alcoholic parent, or growing up in poverty, or all of the above, or dissociated. Sorry, that was my phone up. I think it'll be fine. Or trauma, big T trauma, like abuse. And those are big T traumas that we just are like, okay, that's trauma, and we were aware of it. But what about the moments when someone was bullied as a child, or a teacher told you were stupid, or you felt different because of the color of your skin? All of the above. These are moments in time as children where we experience feelings of being inadequate, unlovable, not good enough, and in some cases, terror.
Yeah.
And so those experiences as children, we did not likely have a therapist or a caregiver who was equipped to pull us aside and say, here's how we can help. So with the most well-intentioned parents, they were probably saying to us, you're okay, move on, you're fine. Yeah. That left us alone with these impermissible feelings. Terror, extreme fears of being inadequate, unlovable, not good enough. Right. Okay, no one wants to feel that, especially a little child. Right. So what do? We immediately start protecting ourselves. And how do we protect ourselves? We protect ourselves by, if we're a kid who felt like nobody was looking at us, nobody was paying attention to us, maybe we start people pleasing. Yeah. Or in my case, everything felt out of control in my life. What am I going to do? Start controlling every detail of my life. Or we feel like I'm not taken care of. This is another one that I had. Nobody's there for me. I built a belief. If I don't do it, nobody else will.
Right.
Or if we feel like we are not being seen in the world, we're going to do everything to have success. Or if we're feeling like we're, there's a million different reasons, right?
Yes.
So we build up these patterns and beliefs and behaviors. And in IFS, these are called protector parts.
Okay.
And they're protection mechanisms. And they're often the parts of us that we might say, you know, when my wife says X, a part of me gets outraged. Or when my boss challenges me, a part of me flips out and wants to fight back.
Right.
Or when I feel like I'm not connecting to people, a part of me starts to prove to the world how great I am. Right. So we have these parts.
Yeah.
And we oftentimes, they're the parts of us that we like the least, that can feel the most extreme. And in very extreme cases, they can become addicted. They can become suicidal. They can, in my case, I had to numb out so hard to just push down the suffering.
Sure.
And I mentioned I got sober 20 years ago, but it was only 10 years ago that in 2016 that I actually knew why I became an addict. In a dream, I was here in LA actually, and I was staying at a friend's house, and I had a dream about abuse as a child.
Oh, wow.
And I woke up in the morning and I remembered this. And it was the biggest truth I'd ever known.
Wow.
And I just was so shook by it that I said, okay, we're not talking about that. I'm going to push it down. I didn't even mention it to my husband. And just a few days later, I was in my therapy and my therapist said something and it just triggered it. And I just flew off the sofa and remembered this abuse from my childhood that I had dissociated from for 36 years. I had dissociated, or 30 years at that point. And so there was equal parts extreme terror and equal parts relief, because the terror was, oh my God, I'm being thrown back into this trauma. But the relief was, that's why I was an addict.
That's the reason.
That's why I was a workaholic. That's why I'm so hypervigilant. That's why I have gastro issues. That's why I have fear of abandonment. That's why.
Right.
And that began my journey, which has been a decade now, of trauma recovery.
Right.
And spiritual trauma recovery.
Yeah.
And in that trauma recovery, through this type of work, through the self-help work and through IFS, I have healed my nervous system.
Wow.
I have healed the patterns and behaviors that held me back, the beliefs of if I don't do it, nobody else will, the controlling mechanisms, the rage, a part of me that I called knives out.
Yeah.
I've healed my gut. I have healed my skin. I have healed my vitality. I have gotten closer to God, because trauma is the inability to be present.
Right.
And so when we heal the trauma, presence emerges naturally and the body can heal.
I'm so looking forward to reading your book and participating in this, because
I actually want to train doctors in this.
You should. I mean, I'll be your first one that gets trained.
It's gonna make me cry. Like, if you were practicing this, which you will, because you have it in you, and it's an intuitive nature to be able to do this, and I'll teach it to your audience.
Please.
If you were with your patients and you were able to use these tools, right? It would open up. When does a doctor typically say, what happened to you, to looking at this person and they're like, okay, you have gastro issues, you've got TMJ, you don't sleep at night, you have anxiety, you're on antidepressants. Okay. When would the doctor actually say typically, what happened to you as a kid?
Yeah, never.
Never.
It's not part of the conversation.
Never.
But this is so critical. I mean, I have goosebumps about how critical this is, because I think about all the patients where we're not making the progress that we should be making.
Yep.
Or things might be going in reverse, or they just stop showing up because they don't see any results. And I think this is so critical to add to medical practice, because I do try to spend time with my patients. I spend like an hour, sometimes more with them. And I do uncover little bits and pieces of a traumatic childhood or trauma, sometime even college. It's there. I know it is, but I don't really know what to do with it.
This is it.
And this is it.
It's also, the cool thing about this is that it's science-backed, right? This is a therapy. This is a trauma therapy that's been studied, that has data behind it. And with the blessing of the founder, who's a beloved friend of mine and my mentor, he had given me the gift, the greatest gift, which is to take his 45-year body of work that has healed countless people through their trauma recovery, and to democratize it.
Right.
And to make it a 4-step practice. That a doctor like yourself could say, okay, I'm not trained in IFS, but I can do this 4 steps with you.
Yes.
Or I can, teach you about this idea, and then maybe you can go on and get IFS therapy, or you can read the book, or whatever it is.
One of the big things I've been struggling with our program that we put our patients on, we have this wellness wheel that I've showed you. And, we start off with the basics, nutrition, movement, sleep, and then we move on to functional medicine, gut health, and hormone health, and detoxifying. And then I have this section called emotional health, right? And I know it's important, and I've just never had the tools to really implement it at a level where it can make a physiological difference in someone's life. And so I feel that this might be finally that piece that I've been missing.
We could do a study with it.
We could do a study for sure.
We should talk to Dick Schwartz. We should do a study with it.
Absolutely.
Because first of all, let's give yourself a tremendous amount of credit, right? And all doctors, really. You're very busy studying other things, right? And the medical school is not teaching this. Right? So you guys are doing the absolute best you can to think about this from the physiology. Right. But we can't disconnect. And functional doctors like yourself, I mean, you guys are very tapped into the nervous system. Right. You're not ignoring the nervous system, but what isn't taught and you haven't been given, how do you actually create sustainable change in the nervous system?
Right.
Not, okay, here's a breath practice, or or go meditate. Everyone's like, go F yourself. Like, I don't know how to meditate. Or they may meditate, but that's still not healing the core wound.
No, it's not.
Because you're going to be just spot checking all the time.
I had Dr. Bland on this podcast a few days ago. He's the father of functional medicine. He basically invented functional medicine and wrote a book about it and taught millions of practitioners. And, what he said was that there's 2 really core important systems of our body. And those are, number 1, our immune system, and number 2, our nervous system. These are the 2 systems of our body that has constant and consistent interaction with the outside world, is interpreting everything going on in the outside and bringing it internally to you, right? And so the immune system, we have medications to modify it. We can measure it with blood tests. We can do, immune globulin levels, interleukin levels. We can check inflammation, et cetera. But the nervous system is a lot more difficult. We just don't have the tools to really understand the state of our parasympathetic versus sympathetic. We have HRV now, which is really great. At least we finally have something.
Yes.
And what you notice—
a lot of apps testing it too.
Yes, a lot of apps, a lot of wearables and stuff. But this feels like the missing piece in all of medicine, which is how do we really understand where our nervous system is at and how do we fix it for the long term?
Yes.
In a sustainable basis.
We're sitting right here, I believe, on the precipice of some major conversation in the world.
Yeah.
Because to have doctors starting to say, not just how do I help my patients with their nervous system through breathwork or through meditation or through exercise, but how do I help them heal core wounds?
Right.
Because the core wounds are like an engine that is revving all day long. And all we're doing all day long is trying to turn off that engine with the YouTube or with the alcohol or with the sexting or whatever it is, or the porn, or we're just trying to shut down that revving that's always underneath it. And so how do we heal the revving? You don't go straight to the revving. You go to the protectors first. You go, so this is what I want to teach you. And
yes,
this is this is such a gift to be able to teach this to you.
I love this.
So we don't, in this book, because I'm not a therapist, I'm a trained IFS practitioner, but I'm not going to go to that exiled, traumatized child.
Sure.
I want everyone listening to take that to their therapist, right? To their trained therapist, ideally an IFS therapist. Right. But what we can do to start, whether you have therapist or not, is tend to the protectors. So these protection mechanisms, the people pleaser, the alcoholic, the addict, the workaholic, even good qualities, right? So so sometimes we have these qualities like we're perfectionism, we get praised for it. That's still a protector.
Right.
It's still overriding our well-being. Yeah. And so going to these protectors and first and foremost recognizing these beliefs and patterns and behaviors as protection mechanisms. That's step 1. Okay. So the extreme patterns.
Right.
And then checking in with them instead of checking out.
Okay.
So what happens? We get triggered and we maybe run to the computer to do the work because we don't want to feel it. Or we get triggered and we start to rage. Or we get triggered and we start controlling. Or we get triggered. And that's what we just do that all day long.
Yes.
From protector to protector to protector.
Right.
And sometimes people are far more extreme than others, but we're always doing it.
Yep.
And so instead of going and checking out, we check in instead. So it's the moment that you notice, or it's after too. Maybe you don't have enough awareness in the moment, but it's, I feel that controlling coming on again. Let me check in. And so maybe you have to separate yourself from the room, or maybe you just sit down and you just go to the bathroom, or you say, I'm going to excuse myself, or even 3 hours later you do this. But the first step is to choose to check inside. So instead of checking out and avoiding the feeling, you check in with it.
Got it.
The second step is curiosity. These are 4 C's.
Okay.
The second step is curiosity. And so that's when you start to ask questions inside and you're talking to this part of yourself.
Okay.
So the controller or whatever you notice is activated.
Sure.
Or anxiety even. And you start to say, where do I feel that in my body? And what do I know about this? Are there any thoughts or feelings or sensations connected to it? And you start to flesh out some information. And these parts of us will start to say, I feel like a tightness in my jaw or in my chest, or I know that there was, or maybe you'll see an image of yourself at 6 years old on the playground and that's the moment you were bullied. Or maybe you'll hear the inner voice that say to you, I'm freaking out, I'm scared, or you'll tease out information. And as soon as you have a little bit of connection, that's when you set the third step, which is compassion.
Okay.
And you compassionately connect to the part by just asking it, what do you need? So you're asking this little child inside,
yes,
what do you need? And that part will blow your mind. It'll say, I need to dance. I need to play. I need to rest. It wants to be childlike. It doesn't want to be in this extreme burdened role. I need to take a nap. And then once you have that compassionate connection, the final step is to check for self, to check for these qualities of what is called self-energy. And self-energy is our adult, undamaged, resourced self. It's the spirit within us, the God within us.
Yeah.
And so self is calm, courageous, compassionate, curious, clear, confident. It's creative. And so we start to check in that fourth step and say, do I feel a little bit more calm? Yeah. Do I feel clear about this part inside? Do I feel a connection? Do I feel any compassion towards this part? Do I have a little creative energy buzzing through me?
Yeah.
If you notice even a molecule of one of those qualities, that self-energy is starting to emerge.
Okay.
And so what is self? Self, there's a beautiful quote. Self is like the sun behind the clouds. And when the clouds, which are the protectors, when the clouds dissipate, that sun begins to emerge naturally.
Wow.
And so self is the inner healer. Self is the Darshan dad. It's you as the dad. Self is you in this moment. You're in self.
Right.
You're curious.
Right.
You're connected to me. You're confident.
Yes.
You have complete courage to talk about big things. That you're in self right now. And so we don't live in self. We live in, typically most people live from protector to protector.
Protector to protector, right.
So by checking in with the protector, self starts to emerge, and self is what regulates. Self-energy is the regulatory energy.
Okay.
That's the energy that calms the nervous system. That's the energy that allows for empathy and compassion and connection. Self is inspired. Self is clear. Self is when we can be in that creative force. And so that's what's called self-help.
Yes.
It's letting that energy be rebirthed out of you because we're blocking it all day long.
It's so powerful.
And so, okay, let's think about it. Let's unpack this a little bit more.
Okay.
So you've got a patient. They've got their chronic IBS. They're not sleeping. They've got, all these different imbalances. Their biomarkers look like shit. Okay, you're addressing all these issues. They're probably hormonal or this thing in age or whatever. But you're also going to ask, okay, what are you feeling on a day-to-day basis? Or you might say to the patient, Are there any patterns or extreme behaviors that are kind of, running the show in your life? And you can even give them examples. Like, are you controlling things? Or are you, working too hard? Or maybe are you numbing out with YouTube? Or what are the ways that you might be running? Yeah, like what's extreme for you? And they may say, oh, well, sometimes I'm like this, or sometimes this happens to me. And then you can say, okay, well, let's get a little curious about that. How long has that been around? And what do you know about it? And you're just dialoguing with the patient, right? What do you know about it? And so what does that part of you need to feel a little bit calmer? What does it need? And maybe they'll say, well, maybe they'll be a little freaked out. Or maybe they'll just, if it's casual conversation, you can speak, well, I kind of need to just, let myself off the hook, or, kind of need to rest more. And then you can say, okay, maybe you could just put your hand on your heart and just let that part of yourself know that you're going to look into it a little bit more and take a deep breath with that part of yourself. And they'll do it.
Wow.
And then you might say, okay, how do you feel? And they might say, I feel a little bit more calm. And you might say, do you feel a little bit more clarity about that belief or that energy that might be running the show here? Yeah, I feel a little bit more clarity, doctor. Yeah. Or do I have a little bit of compassion? You've been working really hard to keep things together. And I just want to, extend, you can extend as the leader in that conversation, your own self-energy, that compassion. Even your curiosity to the patient is self-energy.
Yes, exactly.
Just saying, what's running the show in your life right now?
Right.
What beliefs or patterns are working their ass off in the background for you? That question, who asks people that?
It's almost never does someone take you down that pathway, right?
Yeah, unless it's a therapist.
Right, right, exactly. And even I feel like, I've seen therapists before. So first of all, I want to just take a step back. You gave me chills with this entire process, because I'm thinking about what are my protectors right now and why do they exist? What are the traumas that created these protectors? And then while you were talking to me, I was quiet because I was putting myself through this mental exercise about the protector, why it was there. And then when you got to the end of that fourth step, I did feel better. I did feel more of a sense of self come out, And so, I shared with you last night during dinner that I was bullied a lot in school, like extreme amounts of bullying. And I've never sat down and unpacked that trauma because I've repressed it. And, I'm typical guy. Like, I just rather leave it repressed than
typical human, actually.
Yeah, typical human.
And repress is exile. Those are exiled parts.
Yes.
You're shutting the door on it. Yep. Go on.
Exactly. And so, I do live in this state of constantly running, like you're saying. And for me, being on this podcast is, I told you last time how much I love it, right? It's because when I'm sitting in this chair, I feel relaxed. I feel my parasympathetic. This is what I love to do, is have these conversations, feel connected. But it's the only time I get to do that. There's times when I'm with my children, I also feel that way. But I would love to live my day in this state.
I want you to live your day in this state, and I'll tell you why. And it's going to make me emotional, because you helped me so much with my health that if there's anything I can do would be to teach you more of this, to introduce you to Dick, to get you hooked up in this. Because for yourself first, right? Because when you start to feel what you feel in this moment more often, self begets more self. So you start to want more of that. And you're going to say, I'm going to go do a self-help check-in meditation, or I'm going to go for a walk with that little boy that feels bullied, and I'm going to go just let him walk with me, or I'm going to do some journaling with him.
Yeah.
And the more it starts to expand and expand and expand and expand, the things that you want to create in this world, which I know I'm looking at a man who's creating big things in this world, they become far less effort and more effortless.
Yeah.
And you do less and you attract more. And most importantly, you just feel good.
Yeah.
You're never going to stop. The part of you that's working, this is a beautiful thing. There's no bad parts. This is what Dick says.
No.
So the parts that are working so hard, the part of you that's hustling and working and going and moving, it is a protector, but it's also doing extraordinary work in the world. Right? My controller wrote 11 books in 14 years, right? We're not going to say that. We don't want to shut that down.
Sure.
But what we want to do is help the part be less extreme.
Yeah.
So this work does not get rid of the part. It helps that part of you get back to its natural state which is that childlike wonder.
Yes.
So imagine you were doing everything that you're doing in your life right now, but just in a state of childlike wonder.
Right.
In a state of just purity and freedom, unburdened from the bullying.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It will take everything that you're creating as a father, as a husband, and as an entrepreneur, and as a healer in the world, and it will just skyrocket it.
Yeah. I agree.
I'm living it in real time right now.
Right.
And I've been doing this, for a very long time. I've been on this healing path. And really in the last year, it clicked big time.
Wow.
And I don't even think my career has begun.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you've rebirthed almost a new career from a new place of understanding yourself and
marriage.
So
last night
right?
you asked around the table at dinner, you said, what is everybody looking forward to? What are you most excited about? And I said, my marriage.
I know.
I said that to my husband. And I was like, and we've had a lot of struggle because of parts, right?
Yeah.
Parts, hitting parts, and the lack of testosterone, which we can talk about here.
Exactly.
So between my self-help work and you guiding me on my healing path, we were in a good place,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think about people that get healthy, right? Like I've seen this now hundreds of times, people getting healthy in their life and maybe their weight comes off. Maybe they have more energy. They're sleeping great. And it's almost like they get, addicted in a good way to feeling healthy, right? I almost see this like being in yourself. Like,
yes.
Once you feel a moment of that, you get addicted and you want more of that.
You want more.
But just like health, like once you start the ball rolling, it snowballs.
Yeah. And you know what the good news is you fall off and you have that sugar, but you go back the next day.
Super
and
easy,
that's the same thing with this. It's not about how much self we're in all the time. It's how quickly we come back.
Yes.
And that's why I wanted it to be 4 steps, 1 minute a day, or more, ideally.
Yeah.
But if you just made a commitment to that 1 minute a day of 4 steps, that's a habit that you can stack that is now part of your wellness routine.
Wow.
Is okay, now I'm going to just really get super grounded in my well-being through my inner world, and then I'll drink my juice, and then I'll go for my run, or then I'll, or do it at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Be on your power walk while you're doing self-help.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm going to give you something. I'm going to give your audience, I'll put together a self-help check-in meditation and give it to them, because then they can just practice it and practice it and practice it. Yeah.
Yeah, and this book is not like a giant book to read.
No,
you can read this probably on a plane flight.
On a plane, yeah.
And what an incredible tool to give to people. Because, I think a lot of people out there, and I see this all the time, they're very hesitant to go see a therapist because, number one, they feel like they don't need one.
Yeah.
Number
can't afford it.
They can't afford it.
Can't find a good one.
No time.
Yep.
All those things, right? But it seems like through this practice, you can make a lot of headway on your own.
Huge headway.
Yeah.
And even better, I wish I'd had this book 10 years ago when I was first starting IFS.
Yes.
This would have skyrocketed my therapy.
Wow.
So huge headway on your own. And then if you do enter therapy, or if you are in therapy, or you decide you want to go deeper with Exiles, you've done so much self-soothing that you're in such a better, more receptive place to go to the Exiles.
Sure.
The Exiles, that little boy, that I'm going to introduce you to some therapists that can, maybe Dick Schwartz would even meet with you.
That'd be amazing.
I mean, he would, and this is a connection we have to make.
Right.
But that kind of deeper work, I would only advise somebody do with the therapist.
Right.
Because the Exiles, and I say it at the very beginning of the book,
right.
The Exiles need gentle care. And you can't just rip that Band-Aid off. These protectors, they work really hard, Darshan, and we need to love them. And we need to say thank you to them. And I can look back at my 25-year-old self and 20 years ago and say to that cocaine addict, girlfriend, you did a good job. You did your best to keep me safe. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm glad we stopped. But it's making me emotional. But like I'm grateful that was there when I could not face what I was so afraid to face.
Wow. Yeah. I see what you mean. Like your protectors are protecting you.
They're literally protecting you.
They're protecting you.
They have a valuable role.
Right.
But then they become extreme. And so we don't want to shut them down. We want to help them. Yeah. We want to get into relationship with them. We want to let them know that self is there.
Right. These protectors are hypervigilant, and they're always running, trying to protect you. High alert all the time. And think about that, like all the things we talk about in functional medicine, your inflammation, this imbalance between your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. gut issues, all of this is due to that.
It is.
This living in this state of constant running hypervigilance all the time.
I just got a hit. I did some of this work with Robin Burzan, our mutual friend.
Oh, I love Robin,
just
yes.
working with her parts. And she felt the same kind of benefits that you were starting to feel. And Robin's the reason we know each other.
Yes.
And I feel like with people like Parsley patients or Next Health patients, and I feel so clearly there's a part of me that wants to give this to these high level doctors and to do some of this work with you guys, because if I could teach you how to use this, even as like a journaling prompt that you hand somebody, or even something as simple as that, like, hey, when you're feeling stressed, why don't you answer these 4 questions in your journal? Just even to be able to speak about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's game changing.
Well, I could commit to you that if you're willing to train our doctors and our medical practitioners, or at least give them a taste of this.
Yes, definitely.
We will incorporate this, and this will help thousands of people at all of our clinics, because it's a missing piece. It's so powerful. It's something that we need to figure out.
Yeah.
How are we going to address this? Because it's a major block in our health that really doesn't have a great modality around it. And, this takes it way beyond the breath work and the meditation to like really getting to the core of the issue and healing it permanently.
Yeah. And think about it. In healing it permanently, I can no longer do things that my controller part did every day, all day. My nervous system, because talk about neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
It's legit neuroplasticity.
It is. Right.
Your brain becomes rewired. You create new neural pathways. This is what you know and teach.
Right.
And you literally cannot do the things that you used to do. Even today, I'm on with my most beloved employee who's worked with me for 12 years. She's my sister. I'll quit my job if she's gone.
What's her name?
Her name is Jessica.
Okay, I just emailed Jessica today.
She's my right hand, left hand, everything.
I love it.
She's also just like my number 3. My son said to me, I'm number 1, Daddy's number 2. Who's number 3? And I say, Auntie Jessie. She's number 3 in my life, right?
That's awesome.
One of the most beloved humans. And we work so closely together. So of course I can take things out on her, and it's like a sister, right? And something was going on that my controller part was getting a little activated, and I didn't like that some video wasn't edited the way I wanted, and I was sort of getting a little bitchy about it. And in real time, I heard the part. This is all happening while I'm talking to her on the phone. I heard the part starting to get controlling and be a little bit bitchy. And then in the moment I started to hear self say, Gabby, she is so devoted to you, so doing everything in her power to make this right for you. Let's take a breath. And I started to change. This alchemy started to happen inside, and the protector started to soften. And I said, thank you so much, Jess, for this hard work.
Yeah.
We can go slower. We can take our time. And thank you for your hard work. Because the protector, in her extreme role, would have been super bitchy to Jessica, then get off the phone, felt hungover from the conversation, extreme guilt and shame for treating her most beloved person that way, then text Jessica 5 minutes later and say, I'm so sorry for how I acted. I can't believe I was being so controlling. And I'd speak for the part rather than as the part. I'd speak for the part. I'd say, I'm sorry I was acting that way. But who wants to be cleaning up their mess all the time?
Exactly. Yeah.
So in the real time, I'm having this moment of like unwinding and correcting.
It's probably because you practice this every day.
I live it.
That you can create that space to make this happen. First, it's just first knowing that this works and there's a methodology around it. And then number 2, practicing it to create the space. And then doing it frequently enough for long enough that it becomes automatic.
Yes.
And then it's a permanent change.
And it's a permanent change.
Yeah.
And it's the felt sense of safety that trauma, and that all people are traumatized, let's remember that trauma parts need, that felt sense of safety. And once you start to have a taste of that, you have spiritual proof, okay, that's real. I want a little bit more of that. And I'll go for a little bit more. And then it develops, and self gets bigger and bigger and larger, and it expands, because self never left us. It's just been blocked. We're just dismantling the blocks to the presence of self. And, the thing I really think also here is that the parts of us that are the most extreme they might be resisting this a tiny bit too. So just keeping that in mind. I'm thinking about how I would talk to doctors about this. Oh, you'd have to be real MacGyver about it.
Yeah.
You can't be like, well, there's this thing and you have parts and they're going to be like, no way. It's about the curiosity. It's about you getting into self as a doctor too. Right?
Absolutely.
Because if you're in self, then you're curious. Then you're connecting. You're compassionate. All of it.
Yeah, it's so true. I think the key for my profession, I don't want to speak for all doctors, but I think kind of the key unlock here is understanding this concept of safety and also this concept of overactivation of our sympathetic nervous system.
Yes.
Because I think we all know as physicians and medical practitioners that this is a problem.
Yeah.
We just want to have a tool to address it.
Yeah.
And so we kind of like make that the last thing on our list of things to talk about.
And it's something you're just like, this is the thing.
Yeah,
but
because you feel disempowered because you can't offer anything,
Yeah.
It's like the only thing you can offer is like, oh, you need to see a therapist. But it's like we all live through traumas ourselves as practitioners and we don't see therapists.
Yes. And you as practitioners have seen some of the greatest traumas in the world, right?
You're right.
Think about the wounded healers, right? Doctors, particularly those who have seen extreme stuff, which is most doctors, you guys have a very big dissociative part.
Yeah.
A part that can just easily, and it's a beautiful, brilliant part because you wouldn't be able to do the work you do if you didn't have it, right? But why? Why?
It's super extreme in me because I did trauma surgery for a long time.
Yes.
And when you work in the emergency room and you see traumas, I mean, it's not just, like I cut my hand and I need to get it sewn up. It's often horrific stuff.
Yes, yes.
Drunk driving accidents that killed the husband
Yeah.
sitting in the passenger seat, like children, like stuff that you can't even repeat because it is so traumatic that it makes you just emotional even just thinking about it.
Right,
So you have to wall it off
Yeah.
or else you'd be like a crying, blubbering mess walking down the street all the time.
Yeah. That's why protectors are very valuable.
Right.
Very valuable. But the other question is, what is it about? So what if all these doctors, even before trying to teach it, what if they just applied it to themselves?
And that's the key. That's what I was going to say.
That's
is the
the
key.
whole thing.
The doctors will use it themselves.
Yes.
Maybe they'll heal. They'll feel more safe. And then they can see the value and then start talking about it.
And the other thing that they can do, one, that's how it has to happen. Because if they're just talking about it, it won't land.
No.
It has to be integrated.
Right.
And it doesn't mean they have to be like the perfect self, doing all the therapy. It's just having the experience. You had an experience. You're like, ooh, that was interesting. Let me read the book, right? And having the experience of it allows you to speak about it from a place of truth and a place of authenticity. And then I think that the thing is that you guys are the first responders. So folks oftentimes are not going to think about their mental well-being. They're going to say, give me the pill, give me the thing. So you guys are seeing the full picture, but there's a huge part of the picture that needs to be seen even more, which is the emotional well-being. And to be able to say to somebody with curiosity and compassion, what is the belief that's on repeat right now?
Right.
And let's just get curious about it. Yeah. But the biggest part is to bring your self-energy to the person.
That's true.
Right.
Exactly. And with this, practitioners can bring their self-energy because they've experienced it. They know what that's like. They know the benefit of it for themselves. And so then they can talk about it with patients as well. So I'm super excited about, making this a modality that's finally a tool in our toolbox, that can move the needle.
I have full body chills about
Me
that.
too.
Yeah.
I knew this conversation was going to be incredible.
It has to happen. I think, and the other thing that's really beautiful is that there is the science backed, there's data behind it, right?
Yes.
So, and I can get all of it. We should put it into the show notes. I want the doctors and the people that are so data driven here to know that this is based on a therapy that has a lot of studies and a lot of trauma recovery proven steps behind it. And that's incredible.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question? What percentage of people do you think out there have some level of trauma and protectors that they're using in their life?
100%.
I agree with you. It's 100%.
100%.
And, the more I talk to people and sometimes people will say to me, like, I don't have any traumas. I had a great childhood.
Yeah. And then 5 minutes later, they'll be like, my dad, but I had a great childhood. My dad was an alcoholic. Yeah. He left. My mom was single for 14 years and had no money. It's just like, it's dissociation.
Yes.
And that's actually a protector, but also a trauma response, which is to sort of just simplify and play down the trauma.
Yeah.
And to actually create other stories. I would always say, oh, I had a great childhood and a perfect upbringing. I literally believed that story. Oh, no, it wasn't.
Right. Yeah. That's incredible. I think this is going to be such a great beneficial episode. I have a lot of practitioners that listen to my podcast as well. And I think hopefully all of them that are listening picks up one of these books and self-help the book, and they start practicing this on themselves first, right? And prove the value to themselves. And I can't wait to do it myself, because I'd love to maybe do another episode with you where we can go through my journey.
Yes. If you want to do that, let's do it.
I would love that, because I think, I definitely, when I look in the mirror, I know I need this. And if I need this, then every doctor I know needs this, because we all trained together. We all went through the trauma of medical school and residency and seeing patients and not feeling like you're good enough because of many different things. It's just.
I would love to look at some data at some point, or if there is any, and I don't know that there is, but this would be an interesting study, is how many doctors actually experience big T trauma as children.
Yeah, that's true.
All the ones I know.
Yeah.
Big T.
And, doctors have some of the highest suicide rates of any profession, the highest burnout rate of any profession. And it's not just the doctors, it's also all the other people that are practicing medicine, the PAs and the nurse practitioners. I mean, I think we all feel also that we're fighting an unwinnable battle with health too, It's just people are getting more and more unhealthy and struggling more and more. And I think a big missing piece of the equation, maybe 50% of the equation, is the emotional and mental well-being.
It is.
That is not being addressed.
Yeah, and doctors are angels and nurses are angels, and you guys deserve so much inner safety.
Yeah, yeah. And, the psychiatrist can't do all of it.
Yeah, there's the therapists, psychiatrists, they're one-to-one.
Right.
And I feel very blessed that I've chosen a path of one-to-many.
Yes.
Because one-to-one is not my gift. That's a gift. That is not my gift. I can do we can do a check-in together, and I can give that to you. That's not what I'm here to do. Yeah. But the one-to-many, I think, is recognizing that all humans have this presence of being a miracle worker, particularly nurses and doctors, not because of the miracles they perform on the operating table, which is a miracle, but the energy that they bring. So if you think about it, those moments when you're in dire straits and you're in the hospital, that nurse that walks in with presence and peace, or that doctor that walks in with that bedside manner that makes you feel calm, that is contributing to the healing.
Yes,
and because you have faith and you're trusting.
Right.
And you guys are doing God's work. So.
Yeah. And so you do the self-help program, you get used to it, it starts changing your life. When do you know it's time to address the exiles?
I think that's a really excellent question. I would say once you start to feel self-energy begin to emerge kind of naturally. So let's say you have spontaneous moments of self. So you're about to maybe have that same argument that you always had, and the triggered response is there, but you're able to speak for the part instead of as the part. You're able to say to Nancy, Nancy, there's that part again, let me just speak for it. And you're teasing it out, and you have enough space, so you're unblending from the part. Because what's hard to get to exiles is when you're so blended with the protectors.
Right.
So I've seen people almost physically change. Like when I go to Knives Out, that part of me that wants to fight back so hard, my physicality changes, my face changes, my vocal cords change, my language changes. It's like this like shape shifting, right? I mean, literally, like my hands will go like that. Yeah. So, when you start
the Incredible Hulk or something.
Literally.
Like your whole body changes.
Your whole body changes. And so I think when you start to feel that unblending start to happen, and that's just awareness, right? Being the non-judgmental witness, like, oh, there's that part. Instead of being taken over by it and blended with it, you can witness it.
Yeah.
That might be a good sign that you can go a little deeper.
So true, because I think a lot of the hesitation to deal with traumas or see a therapist that can help you with them is the fear of how you would react once you start ripping off that Band-Aid.
100%. And that's why I was thinking this book would have been extremely supportive for me or in my trauma recovery.
Right.
Because one would have given me the language around it and helped me understand it. And that in itself is soothing to the system, because once you start to even just be able to having this conversation with me today, to see the little boy as a protector, and to see all the protectors protecting the little boy, that's healing.
Yeah.
That witnessing is healing.
Right.
So that's even a first step.
Yeah. It's a great first step. Wow. This is so encouraging and powerful, and I can't wait to dive in more with this. I had so many other questions for you.
This was where we had to go.
This is where we had to go.
This is the beginning of something major.
Yeah, I agree. I'm so looking forward to doing this with you and bringing this to what we do at our clinics, but also just spreading this to the medical community at large, giving them finally, it seems like a pretty simple to learn and implement tool.
Yes.
Which we've not had.
Yes. Yeah, the simplicity is very important. It's very important.
Right.
Because a lot of what happens with therapists, very high-level therapists, it's a lot of therapists talking to therapists. Yeah. And they have the same lexicon. And they have the same education. And therapists talking to doctors, it's two different dialogues. There's intersection, of course, but it can be very different. And so I think it has to be very simplified.
Yeah, this is going to be fantastic. One of the questions I had for you, I'm going to change the subject a little bit because it's very important we answer this question. I, myself, I was raised Hindu. I went to a Catholic school. I then learned a lot of Buddhism on my own, met the Dalai Lama, and studied that for a while. And I struggle with this question in my own life, and I see so many people either struggling with this question or they just don't even address it or think about it. And they've, once again, walled this area of their life off. And that's the question of spirituality. And I've never had the opportunity to really define what spirituality means to me. And I've seen so much of it, you know, so many definitions of it. Yeah. And I know this is where you have an incredible body of knowledge and you're able to break this down for people simply. And so I would love for us to spend some moments on spirituality. What
I'd like to begin first by acknowledging your humility, because I think a lot of people, particularly people in the healing arts space or the healing space or the doctor space, will sort of say, oh, yeah, I have a spiritual practice. But to be able to truly say, what does it mean? Yeah. I don't know what it means to me. And I think that's awesome. That's amazing that you were able to just notice that, because it's actually the thing that we block most.
I feel that way intuitively, right?
Because spirituality and self are interconnected. So our spiritual essence is self. So those words can be used interchangeably. So we've just talked about all these protectors. The protectors are just blocking the presence of spirit. There's a metaphysical text that I'm a student of called A Course in Miracles. And the Course teaches that the Course says, I'm not here to teach you the meaning of love, meaning spirit and God. I'm here to teach you to release the blocks to the presence of love within you. So that's the work. It's not how do I get spirituality. It's how do I unlearn all the fear-based beliefs that are blocking me from the spiritual truth that never left me.
Wow.
So it's in the unburdening that the self and spirit emerges naturally. But I would also recognize that we all have had these spontaneous moments of self and spirit, right? So I think you're in spirit right now.
Yes.
In this conversation, you're not overthinking things. You're super inspired. You're very engaged. You're super connected. You're very clear. This is spirit. You're in spirit right now. This to you said last night, I want to be hosting dinners and doing my podcast because that's spirituality to you.
Right.
That feeling of flow, that feeling of connection, that feeling of open-heartedness, that feeling of love, that feeling of extemporaneous conversation.
Yes.
That's spirit. That's what's currently, that can be your definition of spirituality.
That can be my definition of spirituality.
Currently it is, right? My definition of spirituality is I know that there is an ever-present energy within me, around me, and all of us, guiding us and supporting us at all times. I know that there is more beyond our physical sight. I know that the vibration that we put out is reflected back to us tenfold. I know that we are the co-creators of this life. Now, I know this because that is 46 years of spiritual conditioning and faith building. But again, you could be doing 46 years of spiritual conditioning and faith building and have a different concept, and it doesn't matter. I am not here to teach people what faith means to them. I'm here to teach them to release the blocks to the presence of a faith of their own understanding.
Got it.
And my mission right now, and you're on your mission, right? My shared mission, my healing mission for this time, where we are in shaky times, and we talked about this last night, is to help as many people establish a spiritual connection of their own understanding. Without it, it's going to be hard.
Right.
It is imperative that we have a faith right now.
Right.
A lot is happening and a lot more is coming. We have to have a sense of unshakable faith.
Yes.
For our nervous system, for our health, and for our future.
Right. And I would say, and I was speaking for, I don't want to speak for everybody out there, but I would say that if people really look at themselves in the mirror, very few people have a sense of faith right now.
Very few.
Very few. I mean, you even look at the events of today, and it's faith shaking.
Faith shaking. In fact, that's where, it's funny that these are the two books that we sent you. The Universe Has Your Back. It's called Transform Fear into Faith. That is a direct line to establishing a spiritual faith of your own understanding. So this book you're going to read and you're going to unlock it. And then that book's the next one. So do this one first. Everybody, self-help first and the universe second, because this will clear the path and then this just grounds you in a spiritual faith.
Yes.
And these are my two most important books, I actually believe. And so we are going to need it. We need it now, actually. It's imminent. We need it. And, you've lived through it. You just recently lived through it. Anyone, in Los Angeles, but particularly those of you live in Malibu, right? With a faith, we have to train our faith. We have to train our faith.
Okay.
And I will share a story, but I'll share it briefly. So I went through IVF when I was 41 years old for a second pregnancy. And I had 9 rounds of IVF, no embryos the whole way until one embryo at the very end. One embryo, only one after 9 rounds.
Wow.
And it was a healthy, tested embryo.
Wow.
And I carried that baby for 5.5 months. And at the 5.5, a little over the 20-week scan, we were in the office and the doctors were kind of freaking out and they're saying, what's going on? Okay, there's something going on. And they're like, hey, do you have any other embryos? And my husband says under his breath, all you need is one. And that was our mantra. All you need is one. All you need is one. Unfortunately, that baby was not growing inside of me. He wasn't going to survive. I wasn't going to survive. I had to have an abortion, late stage abortion, and very late. I was almost 6 months. It was just like the cutoff line, really. And I remember my friends gathering me around me after this procedure, and they were all like, why aren't you losing it? And I was like, first of all, I have a dissociated part that's helping me right now, and that's good. But second of all, I said, I knew in the moment, my faith is holding me like a blanket right now. My faith is this is what I've been training for.
Right.
This is what I kept saying. This is what I've been, the daily practice, the daily devotion to my spiritual connection, the knowing that obstacles are detours in the right direction, the recognition that I'm always being guided, even in the most difficult circumstances. I believed that in that moment. 3 years later, I'm sitting with you right now. And I can tell you with full conviction, all I needed was one.
Yeah.
My one healthy little boy, Oliver, who was 2 years old at the time that this happened, my system, my nervous system, my career path, my life path, my mission really required one child. And I had to go to those lengths to get to the place where I could know in my heart that all I need is one.
Yeah.
And so was it fun? No. Was it easy? No. Was it heartbreaking? Yes. But I knew even in the moment of that heartbreak that I was being guided.
Yeah.
And that is what happens when you have spiritual conditioning.
Right.
You're in the belly of the trauma and you know you're being guided.
Right. Oh, that's so powerful. And again, something else that would benefit every human listening to this podcast is to have that level of faith where even in the most difficult circumstances, you pull through.
Yes.
With your faith.
I've counseled many people with diagnoses, with late stage cancer diagnosis or some kind of chronic illness or critical condition, and the spiritual guidance is often the thing that really moves the needle for them, because the guidance is lean into your faith practice, bring appreciation and joy into the doctor's office, make the process of the healing part of a ritual for you.
Yeah.
You listen to your mantras while you're getting your chemo.
Yeah.
These kinds of these belief systems. There's science. They're science backed, right? There's data on this, that the level of your thoughts can massively impact your recovery.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's incredible how much your thoughts can impact your recovery. Your thoughts, at the very minimum, we talk about placebo effect.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Placebo effect is really your thoughts creating recovery.
Real. It is. It's real.
Right? And so there's a small percentage of people that do this. Not a small percentage of people that do this with pills. There's I think a 20% placebo effect with pills. And when I look at the placebo effect, these are people that are not intentionally using their mind to create recovery. It just happens by itself 20% of the time. When you apply some intention to it, imagine how much that could really accelerate, right? How much your mind controls your physical
It's exactly
being,
right.
Right? And there was just some research published a few months ago of how thoughts can directly change your immune cells. Just thoughts and emotions can directly change your immune cells. And this happens like in the brain, and it's mind-blowing, right? I mean, we've never found any direct relationship between how the brain can affect our human body until just recently through the brain-gut connection we started talking, right? And now we have this brain-immune connection that is that we're finding, and so we're going to find much more about how much the brain affects every system of our body. Now we know that HRV is a biomarker of how our emotions are affecting our cardiovascular health and more beyond there, right? It's all connected.
All the more reason why we need to find safety inside.
Yeah, safety and spirituality practice.
Safety and a spiritual practice, which I think go hand in hand. I mean, these two books are perfectly aligned.
They are. Yeah. That's why they're here.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's exactly. And you have many books, right? And so, but these two ended up here because we needed to talk about both of these
exactly
today.
Right. These were the ones that landed here.
Exactly. And I'm a big believer in manifestation and this connection that we have to multiple dimensions of the universe that exist that we don't feel or see, but live right underneath us all the time, right? And so you talk a lot about manifestation as well, and I'd love to hear kind of your updated thought process around manifesting.
Well, we're always manifesting. Manifesting is natural. Miracles are natural. When we're not manifesting what we want or goodness, we're manifesting what we don't want. And not such great stuff.
Right.
So we're always manifesting because we attract into our life who we are, and we attract into our life what we believe. So all the more reason to heal our belief systems because it's going to help us attract more and more and more of what we need as well. Not just what we want, but what our soul's purpose and our highest purpose needs.
Right.
And the other thing is people think, I need to do this thing called manifesting. No. You need to unlearn everything to remember that you are a super attractor and to live in that way.
Right.
And just to live in the awe and the wonder of that magnificence. And it's fun, man. It's so much fun.
It is. Yeah, whenever I talk about manifesting to people, they go, oh, what's your manifesting practice? And, people have vision boards. They have other ways of visualizing what they want in life, et cetera.
Yeah.
And for me, it's never been that. Like manifestation happens for me when I'm not thinking about it.
That's right. That's right. Because it's the doing that's actually in the way of the receiving and the allowing.
Yeah.
It's the art of allowing. So when we're in that parasympathetic state and we're in that joy and we're in that safety inside, we're just chilling. We're having fun. That's when you randomly meet that guy on the street because that fun, joyful vibe is happening and that guy becomes your husband. Or that's when you find your way to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and everything unfolds. So we're always manifesting.
Yeah.
Always.
It's so true. And they're great tools. Like I'm not discounting vision boards. I think they're great. At least it gets you into the mindset of thinking like, what is out there for me?
It's a
you
step.
know? Right,
yeah,
exactly.
It's a step. To compare it to the wellness journey, maybe it's sort of like the equivalent to starting to take a probiotic. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly.
Like
right.
it's a step.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
It's a step. Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Like, and maybe it's a quick win when people need quick wins to understand that they can win.
Yeah.
And
it's a step that works. Yeah.
Exactly. And also another very powerful thing that you talk about a lot. There's so much, this massive body of work that you've created, Gabby. And I find all of it so interesting, so beautiful, and so needed.
Yeah.
And so I just appreciate you so much for putting all of this out there.
Right back at you. I love you.
Same.
And everybody needs to know that you, and that's why I feel very actually really called and excited to do some of this work with you if you feel that you're comfortable with that.
Right.
Because you've gifted me so much. And I want everybody to hear me say that because you looked at my biomarkers, we looked at it in February, and you did actually talk about the psychosomatic too. You saw some of my levels and were like, this is weird. And it was weird. And you were kind of like, well, were you in a stressful period? That was a beautiful curiosity question. I was like, oh yeah, I was. That was helping us figure out the and it was actually at a period when those biomarkers were so messy was when I was kind of bottoming out with the part. I was like hitting bottom with the part that was, if I don't do it, nobody else will. And so at the same time that we looked at the blood work, I took all the guidance that you gave me, plus did a lot of more recovery on that part. And really wore the glucose monitor, took the deliverance and worked on the liver, changed my diet to work with the glucose, worked on the stress levels, just all of it. I took all the supplements that you guided me to, and 3 months later, everything's normal.
Yeah. Everything's really good now.
It's really good in 3 months. And that was the other thing that you did that was actually very self-led, which was you gave me hope. You weren't like, oh, this doesn't look good. You were like, you were very honest with me. These numbers aren't great. But you also said, but you can reverse all these things in 3 months.
Yeah.
And this is what you can do. And then I did it.
Right.
And I did it.
And you did it. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, you're an incredible patient, first of all.
I follow the rules. Yes.
But also, I think you came at it with a sense of belief that you can do it.
Yep.
And that it will work. And because of that belief system that it will work and you can do it, you led yourself in that direction. And that, at its core, is what manifestation is.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And self-led leadership, right?
Yes,
so leading your inner world.
Right.
Your self-energy becomes the leader of your inner world.
Yeah.
And your health.
Yeah, I love it. You're creating such incredible change in the world, and I'm so grateful that you'd work with me. And I promise you that I will take whatever work you do with me, and I will magnify it even further. And so this 1 of 1,000 that you want to achieve, like we can make that happen.
Yeah.
But I think it needs to happen. Like we talked about last night, this is a moment in time where if we don't put into place some emergency measures at a scale,
time. Yeah.
We're going to have a really bad problem in the future generations.
It's an emergency.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that.
And our kids are about the same age. And, they are headed into some very uncertain times, just the way we just see the world unfolding. And I think it's emergency for us in our status, in our place in the world to do this now.
For them and for ourselves too, because we're going to see it. Yeah. Well said.
So awesome.
Thank you.
Gabby, I'm excited to do more and more with you.
Yes,
have you
it's
back
just the
on.
beginning. It's just the beginning.
This has been such a fun conversation. I thank you so much for coming on here today and being a part of the change this world needs.
Thank you.
Yeah. How can people find you?
Everybody can find me at deargabby.com. My YouTube channel, I'm doing a lot of how-to videos now on my YouTube channel, Gabrielle Bernstein. And of course, the books are all on Amazon. And
Yeah, no, I love it. And I was on your podcast as well. And thank you so much for having me on there. To prepare for your podcast, I listened to your podcast, many episodes of it. And Wow. So
Yeah.
many great episodes on your podcast.
Yeah, and they're getting even more how-to, right?
Yes.
So it's exciting. It's a lot of teachable stuff, and then it goes deeper inside my app, and yeah.
Yeah. Oh, tell us about your app, by the way. I want to talk
So
about
the
that.
app is cool. The app, actually, the self-help check-in,
Yep.
I have multiple processes where I lead people through it. So there's that inside of it, but there's manifesting challenges and trust the universe challenge. And there's my AI clone that's entering this app in the next month, which is Gabby AI. And it's extraordinary. It's been fed 20 years of my content. So you're going to open the app and you can literally just talk to my AI, and my voice speaks back to you and gives you my wisdom and has deep dialogue and coaching. And it's spiritual coach in your pocket. It's the thing I've wanted forever. And I was always wanting the app to be that, which it is. It's hundreds of meditations and workshops, but now it's interactive.
Yeah.
So that's epic. People can try it for 7 days. They can go to deargabby.com/app.
Incredible. So someone can literally have the same conversation I had with you.
Yes, exactly.
on their own, which is so powerful, right?
Yes.
And do it for as long as you need and keep coming back to it.
As long as you need, it's right there.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. I'm downloading the app.
I'm giving it to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gabby. We'll see you again on here soon.